Thank you. Thank you.
Titled Holidays on Mars.
Anyway.
Tell me when you're ready to go.
Just bear with me a moment. Let's just set up.
Okay, no worries.
Can I do an intro before everyone's in? Actually, no, this is an intro.
That's your intro?
Actually, my intro page, you're right.
Okay, go.
And like our amazing expert, I just started watching Instagram and YouTube videos recently on SpaceX and thought it was amazing. So I wanted to share with you some incredible things on space that I've learned over TEDx and YouTube. And it all starts really with this really mad man that we've already mentioned, Elon Musk, who...
He's a super villain.
Who basically made a lot of money selling PayPal a while ago, and he was a bit mad and went and bought an F1 McLaren and crashed it very quickly, and after PayPal went and bought Tesla and started doing an electric motor company, and then he decided that he would start launching rockets, and he did that in 2006, and just kind of carried on building rockets, and basically with the aim that he wants to go to Mars. So we've been watching Tesla and SpaceX going through some tumultuous times. Nearly both of them have gone bankrupt. Some of them got massive funding from NASA, which was very kind of them. And Tesla have just launched some new cars as well. So SpaceX have been launching rockets for the last just about 8 years or so, and they've been basically trying to develop a way of getting a rocket to go into space and come back down again, and not just go into the scrap heap, but to be reused, and that's how they're looking at saving money. So these are all the rockets that they've been launching, and they're all basically unique, but they're all basically the same, and they're all the same but they're generally, they call them the Falcons, so they've got the small Falcons and they're the Falcon 9s. And the most recent one he launched, Falcon 9, was in May, and that was a really special one because that came back down very neatly, and is going to be trying to be used again. And their aim is to build these really big Falcons with like treble, quadruple, double engines, and they're the ones that are going to take us to Mars. And they reckon they'll get people on those as well. But at the moment they've got the smaller ones. So this is the video most recently of the rocket that landed in May. And if you guys can't see this, sorry, I couldn't get it to loop together. So what they did is they launched the rocket into space, and then, obviously this is not man-powered, it then gets guided down onto a platform in the middle of the sea, and they use these side rockets to kind of guide the ship to land perfectly on that spot right there. Absolutely incredible. So you must watch on Instagram because that's what we get. So basically with that kind of technology and this huge ship here, SpaceX are probably the most noisy company, but probably the most likely company to get to Mars first, and possibly with people. And I suppose you asked the most, why are we trying to get to Mars? And as it was mentioned before, they say that people are exploratory. We went from Africa across the world, and people want to back up humanity and basically just try and prove themselves. Mars as a planet, they think is amazing. It's really rocky, cold, it's sterile, hazy pink sky, lots of volcanoes previously, but there is a bit of water on there as well. It's really, really desolate. It's worse than the desert. The atmosphere is super thin, nobody can live there. The days are about the same, seasons are twice as long. There is less gravity, so why we don't just go to the Sahara Desert, I don't know. These gentlemen have decided that their mission is to go to Mars. The track record so far for getting to Mars is pretty bad. They've tried to send 44 rockets so far, and only about a third have failed. So track record wise, they kind of need to get a bit better if they're going to put people on the rockets. Landing on Mars is also really tricky because they don't have gravity. So they're all trying to chat about whether or not to do side rockets to get down. They can't use a typical parachute because it doesn't work without gravity and atmosphere. So SpaceX at the moment is trying to figure that one out, and they reckon with these side things that they're going to get there. This is a picture of basically NASA's development. So NASA's been really involved in how they're going to get to Mars. SpaceX are going to leave the rockets there, and they're probably going to get there, but NASA's doing all the research for when they are there, how they're going to get these people around, how they're going to be able to survive. So people basically need food, sunlight, water and air, and there is another one, but I can't remember what it is. It's not on that picture there. Clothing. We also need clothes. Not for Kelly, but... So NASA's basically been working on how we're going to deal with our life. So this is a MOXIE. This is basically like a huge big machine that makes from the atmosphere, it makes the CO2 into oxygen, which then can be breathed. And they also have developed amazing kind of dehumidifiers that can create water. And then they've also figured out ways to plant plants on Mars as well. They reckon that they can grow about 20% of food on Mars, but the rest will have to be shipped over every single time they go. And Mars is about a 256-day trip, so it's a fucking long way. So you're going to have to take a lot of dry food with you. The spacesuits were developed by this amazing person who basically tried to overcome the problem of not having atmosphere. So clothes stick to you for atmosphere. And this person made the suit, which basically is radiation free, it sticks to you, and it does something else. It keeps you warm. This is the kind of the general kind of look of how you might live on Mars and what the kind of accommodation would be like, which would basically be the ship plus your vehicles, and then they can put it all together. When you land, that's probably what they're going to have, and then these huge big blow-up tents that are radiation free. NASA did a competition a few years ago, and this came up, and this was the winner. It was like an ice house. Basically, there's a lot of water and ice on both the poles of Mars, so they reckon that they can build a huge big building. That's a grow thing in the middle, and it's this big pod. And you can basically, the grow thing will make the oxygen and start developing kind of life within this kind of planetary hub. And then this is a picture of what they think the future of Mars might look like. Elon Musk wants to get about 80,000 people to make a colony on Mars. He reckons that he can get to Mars 2025. NASA reckon they're going to get to Mars 2040. And this bloke that I watched the TED talk of thinks that Elon might get there by about 2026, 27. So probably within the next 10 years, they are going to be getting to Mars with people. In 2 years' time, they're going to be launching their first non-people rocket. And that's already been announced. It'll be in 2018 when the Earth is quite close to the to Mars on a trajectory where they can basically have the lowest fuel. So it is happening, and some mad people are going to be going on holiday to Mars. Questions? Yes.
I've got one, because I forgot. Mars One. Can you look into Mars One dream of that crazy Big Brother in space that's going to be taking place?
Oh, I don't think
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
So,
Discuss.
I don't know much, which is why I was going to ask a question, but basically a group of us, I don't know who the instigator is, but one of the key projects they put forward, which I'm assuming they're going to employ this technology to use, is they're going to sell the rights to the television networks, and in turn they're going to take lots of humans out and they're going to film it. So some of the very first humans on Mars are going to be like Big Brother in space. And
Commercialization, right?
it's cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly what the last
And I
one
was just wondering if you knew what's going to come first, NASA or Big Brother. But check out, because they've already found the candidates and stuff from all around.
God knows, I definitely think, why not Big Brother first?
Yeah.
NASA can do the research later, let's have fun.
Yeah. It'd be amazing.
Go for it.
Would you go to Mars?
No. Actually, seats they reckon, because of the fact that they can reuse the rockets, are going to be about 500 million. So it's doable for some rich people. Yeah, it's not
But you
bad
can't come back,
price.
right?
Not the best.
That's right. That's the Mars One thing. Yeah.
Mars One is you
Yeah.
stay.
Oh,
is it?
To the point, I know one of the people.
You know what?
I think
But
they
they
all
all come back.
They've already accepted these people. They've done
know
the
someone who's been
It's
accepted.
already happened.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Leaving Earth one way.
Yeah, one way,
Still
not
very
back.
hard.
Send in.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go on,
God.
Jerry.
One season's Big Brother.
Do you want to raise your hand?
Yeah.
You must leave the
Please
atmosphere.
tell us about it.
I want to hear about the
Gentlemen.
last person.
We've got a lady here who knows someone who
Tell us
goes to
about
Mars.
us.
No, he's a physicist from my university who signed up, and he had
go through a competition process, and yeah, there's a good tab article if anyone knows the tab.
Oh, my friend works for them.
Yeah, so you can read about it there. But he just he's very keen to go, and he's very happy to not come back.
He doesn't need to fly. He doesn't need to fly
Sorry?
He doesn't need to fly.
No, this is the project. But I understood the project as a bit of a publicity stunt rather than a very legitimate thing, but...
Is he also a porn star?
Sorry?
Is he a porn star? Is he a viable skill in space? Beam it back to Earth.
Not something I'm quite
Straight in.
Any other questions for Kat?
That's it.
Yes. Space pirates.
Yes.
Are they going to Mars?
I reckon they'll probably follow NASA, won't they, 2040?
2028? Okay.
Be hot on NASA's case, trying to steal some of the space.
Is Elon
junk
Musk a
they let
space
out.
pirate?
Yeah.
But didn't they, just a question, didn't, the Eden project down in Cornwall in the UK, didn't they put like a Big Brother thing for a year or so? They put all these guys together to test how they would
Yeah, they were doing it in Chile as well, in this hotel. They might build a hotel, but nobody's actually allowed to pay to go, it's scientists. And it's in the middle of the desert, and they've been trying out in like really harsh conditions how these people might get on with life. But just to leave you on a note, it's not a question that came up, but it was mentioned earlier. Basically, they've been doing this research as well on making Mars habitable. So all these conditions are crap. But what they reckon is if they put a huge, big, reflective ball in the sky that reflects on the North and the South Pole, that will melt the ice caps, and when you melt the ice caps, the CO2 will be released, which will give the atmosphere that they need to warm up the planet, also create water vapour, and also create livable conditions. And they reckon if it's done in the right way, they can greenhouse gas global warm Mars as well in 20 years. So, and not only can we fuck up our own planet really quickly, but we can also do it. And apparently the scientists are really good. Sorry.
So speaking about fucking up other planets in terms of global warming, so wasn't like one of the leading arguments for this is to nuke it before arriving, so that the dust cloud neurons create the atmosphere before arrival. So there was actually a lot of the leading ideas that I understood was that we were going to put a warhead, a nuclear warhead out first, which would actually create the dust storm in the atmosphere that contains, that allowed the, because the ice is significant, right?
But there's also, they think there's life on Mars though as well. Like they've spotted like
I'm not
drips
pro
of-
nuking on planet. Like this was like
We're not sure if there's life on Mars. Let's nuke it.
All that now.
Jesus.
But I think this was actually some of the original ideas. I haven't heard this disc pointing at the poles thing, but the original ones were basing on a blast that allowed these sediments and dust to come in and create the atmosphere.
I just think it's really controversial these days.
Yeah.
He's not back in the day. There's fine to you.
There's also a legal impediment to it. We
There's a legal impediment to it.
we cannot explode nuclear weapons in space. We're banned by treaty from doing it.
Oh, the answer.
Now have done.
Right.
Have done.
There's an answer. It's
Like that's a
illegal.
bad
It's
idea.
illegal.
It's illegal for NASA, but not for anyone else.
Any country
No,
that
it's
signed the
international
treaty,
space, so it's apparently
But
illegal.
what about countries that didn't
What
sign
about
they
it?
can't get to space.
Then they could do it.
What about ISIS?
Anything else?
All illegal.
Any other
That's a
questions?
Daily Mail headline.
ISIS on Mars.